Everybody, welcome back. Northernlion plays a Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. 4 wins in a row. Ain't nothing but a chicken wing. Is that what they say? Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. T46D 2G77. This is a very, very interesting start, huh? We got a Lord of the Pit. Interesting. I like that. I think that's worth it. That's worth the opportunity cost there. We got Lord of the Pit, so we can fly. Our speed is great. Our damage is fine, actually. Our DPS is kind of garbage. It's kind of doo-doo. But this is a very, very interesting start that we've got here. I know I keep using the same word, but it really is interesting. Gift is kind of something like, I feel like the best way to deploy it is on our first deal with the devil. We should get a free deal with the devil item, even if it's garbage. You know, it's a good use case for it. If we have to pop it in a pinch to get some HP maybe, or to give ourselves a chance of getting some HP, I can see it. I can see it being useful. But ideally, the dream scenario, I think, is that we get to save it for our first deal with the devil. So I'll tell you, a rate of fire upgrade, oh man. It's like when you've been working out, like not working out, because, you know, all the gyms are closed, or at least should be. But you've been out in the hot summer sun, like mowing the grass, and for 25 minutes, all you thought about in the back of your head is like, Mom made some lemonade inside. Then you get inside, and it's like, you know, it can't hit the bloodstream fast enough. You get those desperate, sort of like racking gulps. You take the whole glass lasts about 2 seconds. That's how we feel about a Tears upgrade right now. Unfortunately, we got Black Bean instead. Which is more like walking inside and your mom is like, you know, hey, you've been mowing the lawn, slugger. How would you like some piping hot Earl Grey tea? And you're like, Mom, maybe like after dinner? It's not the right time, okay? I got nothing against Earl Grey tea. I don't know if I've ever, I mean, I don't have like a story about Earl Grey tea. But my grandma drank it all the time when I was a kid. And I always assumed that Earl Grey tea tasted like it sounds. Like, I thought it tasted like dishwater or something like that. I never drank it because it's got such an unappetizing name, Earl Grey. Then I finally, like, I was probably like 20 the first time I had Earl Grey tea. I think I was at a coffee shop and they're like, we've got Earl Grey and English breakfast. And I'm like, okay. I'll try Earl Grey, please. Nobody tells you, unless you look it up. You know what Earl Grey tea tastes like? Like the world's most flavorful orange. It's flavored with like bergamot oil, which is, I guess, heavy citrus flavors. Dude, Earl Grey tea is fantastic and flavorful. They should change the name to Earl Orange tea. I'm not even trying to just make a joke. I'm just like, I bet sales of Earl Grey tea in the long term, because it would take a while for the name to catch on, but I bet once you reach like the young generation that has not had a chance to consume these teas yet, once you reach there, they would be like, oh, Earl Orange, that sounds delicious. And it tastes like what it's advertised as. Oh, but it's named after the Earl of Greythorn. Who cares, dude? Yeah, I'll say it. Screw him. I'm not worried about that guy. He's old AF. He's older than I am, probably. By like 300 or 400 years. Is Earl Grey the guy who played Rachel Weisz's husband in The Favorite? The Yorgos Lanthimos film, The Favorite? You don't have to answer that. It's kind of a rhetorical question, I suppose. Anyway, this run is pogged. It's popping. I'm not going to the shop. I'd rather go to the arcade on the next floor. You know, getting the HP was pretty much exactly what we wanted. We got, you know, a couple of flies working out in our favor for the next floor. We're not going to worry too much about the pills, but this is all about the gift. It's all about using the present on the next floor. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling pretty good today. I played some good video games. There was a new game that came out on Steam that was right up my alley. It's a roguelite called Slasher's Keep. And the beauty of it is that it's kind of like Mount and Blade. It's like if Mount and Blade and, like, Tower of Guns had a baby. Or you know what? It's like if Isaac, Mountain Blade, and Legend of Grimrock had a baby. I think it's going to be a very popular game. I mean, not like, you know, Among Us popularity, but I think within the indie roguelite subgenre, it's going to be the next thing that people are like, play this, play this. Not to, and I don't know why I said it in a negative way, but not to say that Hades, you know, which is currently that, doesn't deserve it, because it does. But, like, I feel like I missed out on the last, or one of the last waves, because Noida, which, if you're not familiar with it, it was a roguelite that entered early access last year and came out 1.0, like, maybe just a month or so ago. Never really grabbed me for some reason. Not in a mean-spirited way, like, it's one of those games that it's a lot like Risk of Rain, and Risk of Rain 2. I wish that I felt the same thing playing those games that other people do. It's just one of those things, like, you know, I'm not bending over backwards to try to be a contrarian. It would be awesome if I could just, you know, get what other people get out of those games, and you know, because people like watching them. But I just, for whatever reason, I just have never been able to find that, like, the dopamine button in some games, and unfortunately Noida was one of those for me. I found the dopamine button in Slasher's Keep. Absolutely. Anyway, look forward to that. I don't know how we're going to do content for that. I'm really trying to minimize long-term series, maximize one-offs and short-term series, he says as he plays Isaac for the 3,400th time. But, you know, I mean, like, that's with stuff that's not Isaac is what I'm trying to get at here. Okay, that's a good item for us to take from this point onward, I'd say. You know, once we get Brimstone from the present on the deal with the devil. Beautiful. I do also want to play the Blood Bank some more, and maybe even, like, use my Yera rune there, but let's do this deal with the devil first. Let's see how this deal with the devil situation shakes out. The Haunt. I will use, like, we have one first, so you just take this guy out. What a shot. What a gamer. He's done it. Okay, at least we got one. We don't want to use all of our bombs. On the other hand, we absolutely could, because it really doesn't matter that much. The vast majority of the impact on this run is going to come from whatever we do or don't get from this setup right here. Not smart. Not a smart move. Smarter. Smarter move. Okay, so we like Caffeine Pill. Speed upgrade is always pretty nice. Items, pretty much straight garbage. Yo, but Whore of Babylon's pretty good. And then we gotta think. And you know what? It's a little spiced, but to guarantee the permanent Whore of Babylon, because we really do, you know, we'd benefit from a damage upgrade right now. I'm willing to let it fly here. And we've still got a Yera rune. We're too fast. This is too early to be this fast. But this is a very, very... Oh, no. It's a very, very good thing. We still need a Tears upgrade. You know what's interesting? I was going to say, we would have had no deal with the devil precedent if we hadn't taken My Shadow. My Shadow is garbage, by the way. The reason I took it is that I wanted the Whore of Babylon payout, and I think it was worth it in that capacity. But then on top of that, the other item was the Necronomicon. It's weird because, like, the Necronomicon's better, but the Necronomicon is probably not better than Tammy's Head, although there might be some debate on that subject. Laz Rags, very interesting item, but certainly an item that's kind of not applicable right now. I want to go to our shop. Does that exist on this floor? I'm willing to let this fly. Just give it a sec. Bruh. Bruh. Not what I'm looking for. Shop, please. Shop. There we go. Yeah, this is pretty much what I was hoping for. So we will Yera, and then that gives us 2 Spirit Hearts, effectively. The pill is a luck upgrade. You know what? I think we'd be fools not to not to lean into that luck upgrade. Then I'm going to fish for the quarter, because restock would be nice. We don't get it, we don't get it. We're moving on. What's this? We're taking them all, dude. We're putting the system on trial. So yeah, I've been, you know, I played a little bit of that today. That was fun. Chess videos have been going up recently. People have been having a fun time watching the chess videos, or at least telling me that they've been enjoying watching the chess videos. I've been enjoying making some chess videos, which is something I never thought I would say. Streaming a little bit more Demon Souls later today. It's a very nice time. It's a good time. Oh, and the baby, of course. Yeah, the baby, you know, making my soul smile every time that I walk into the room and she gives me, like, a big toothless grin. There is that as well. But I don't want to talk too much about that because she's going to get, like, a big head, you know? You can't let these children know too early on that, you know, there's unconditional love, you know? You gotta... well, I mean, this is getting into it's a joke, but it was getting into a situation that people might find a little minkus. All I was gonna say is that, you know, because then they'll start acting up. They'll start cutting up. Hey, Dad, I crashed the Bugatti. Is that okay? Yes, dear. Hey, Dad, it's 4 p.m. Time for my allowance again. Yes, dear. I think that's the real... Well, I don't know. I think everybody's going to find different parts of parenting difficult. I think for me... And not, you know, like this is rare, but I think for me, definitely one of the instincts I have to work on is the idea that, like, you gotta work hard not to spoil a kid. A baby is not a problem, you know? Because in every baby class we took was very clear about this. You know, you can spoil a 2-year-old. If a 2-year-old starts crying and you bend to their will, you're like, yeah, fine, I'll buy you. You know, what are kids into these days? Roblox? Yeah, sure, here's 200 Roblox, you know? You could create a situation where that kid kind of gets conditioned. I think I do prefer this, actually. That kid gets conditioned to think, like, oh, what I'm doing is okay then, and, like, this is how the real world works, and so on and so forth. We're gonna go back for that, by the way. Excuse me, is there a spirit heart here? No, I misread it. A baby, on the other hand, is just like, a baby does not cry for show, you know? For the most part, at least. Sometimes you would swear that they do. You'd be like, because then you'd, like, they're crying, and then you look at them, and they go, and you're like, okay. First off, how did you turn into Salacious Crumb from the Star Wars franchise? I really I want 2 extra cents, dude. Come on. Just 2 cents. Am I willing? I think I'm willing to sack a Spirit Heart to buy the 9 volt, so maybe we can use this a little bit more frequently. But, like, this is not this, because I'm spoiled in, like, different ways. I acknowledge, you know, I'm definitely not one of those people who was like, oh, I grew up so hard that I know what it's like to, no, it's not like that. Some, like, the stories from my childhood that, like, make me think of that, it was like, I remember one time, I really wanted, from the Scholastic book orders that we had at our school, they were selling, like, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter for 40 Canadian dollars. And I was like, oh, can I have it? Can I have it? And my parents were like, I don't know, 40 bucks is pretty expensive. And I cried for like 2 hours. And they didn't give it to me, which I think is a great lesson. I think that was the right decision. How old was I? 17. I'm kidding. I was 22. But I think that's a good lesson. But, like, I will say, and this is not, like, a good thing or a bad thing, but I really, like, don't buy anything or ask for anything unless I very much want it. Like, my level of want is very low. If you were to look at, like, my leisure expenses, they are... like, you know, we've got a mortgage payment. You know, we got groceries and, you know, other bills and so on. And, you know, that's leisure. You know, like, Netflix isn't a business expense and so on and so forth. But, in terms of like products or even services that I buy for myself on the regular, very, very low. I've rarely find myself being like having that FOMO of like, I've got to have thing, you know? Especially like I used to be, and you can go back and fact check this in Isaac episodes. I used to say this and then be like, you know, but we do eat out, and sometimes we'll eat out at nice restaurants. But COVID is really like, you know, put a cork in that for sure. So like my leisure expenses are really low. So I think that I'm conditioned. Like if somebody tells me they want something, then I equate that level of want to like the level of want when I want something, which is like, I gotta have it. 2-year-olds, I think they get over it a little faster. You know, if your 2-year-old's like, I want this Tickle Me Elmo or whatever, you know, if there's a good reason to get it for them, then you get it for them. And I'm just spitballing. I haven't been through this situation yet. But I'm not wired, or it's not a good way to describe it. It doesn't come naturally for me to say no to people. And I think there is a difference in growing up there for sure. I was said no to as a child, but I also didn't ask for that much because I also don't like being told no. So like some people don't like being told no, so they complain when they get told no. Some people don't like being told no, so they never ask for anything ever. I think I'm more in that camp. Trying to be a little more squeaky wheel gets the grease lately, which is why we ended up with that Fall Guys show. But in general, it doesn't come natural to me for whatever reason. So that's something I know I'm going to have to watch out for. I know I'm going to have to make sure that I'm insulating myself from being the... Because especially, like, you don't want to sell your partner out, right? That's, like, the nightmare scenario for me. Is that my daughter comes to me and is like, hey, Dad, can I have a... You know, a PlayStation 8? And I go, well, what's wrong with the one we've got in my office? Oh, that one's got all your grand strategy games on it. I can't even play Roblox on it. Can't find my Robux. And I'll be like, what did your mother say? And then you get the cheeky grin, you know? She said it's okay if it's okay with you. And I go, oh, then it's okay. And then I talk to Kate and she goes, I told her under no circumstances. That's what I'm trying to watch out for. Anyway, we don't have to worry about it for a little bit. Let's try the blank room. Dagaz is fine. Oh, frick. But we really wanted it to be Perthro so that we can get something out of this item. Awaz. No, thank you. Is Guppy's head better? Better than the straw? I mean, it's probably, like, actually a lot worse. So why am I using it? You're not gonna like the answer. I'm not using it. Or why am I using it? I'm using it because I don't want to go back and fight all those enemies just to get the straw back, which is a reason. Is it a good reason? I would say probably not. However, here we are. I don't know. Oh, I seem to be getting further away from the straw for some reason. What's up with that? Especially given how many spirit hearts we got out of the straw, like, this is just unconscionable. So what I'm going to do, because, I mean, we could probably kill all the enemies in the room in, like, 20 seconds, but, you know, who's got time for that? Instead, let's spend 5 minutes looking for some kind of teleport card so I don't have to fight the enemies in there. Well, that's helpful. Who needs the straw when you get margins like that? You think if you work at the Bay Cell, or I can't believe it's not Butter Corporation, they talk about their margin for margarine? Their margarine margins? Their margarine-gins? Their margarine-gins? Sorry, I can't. It's trying to make it work. My brain just starts doing an impression of a slot machine. Alright, give me 2 Guppy items so I feel better about this, please. I gotta tell you, okay? So I grew up as a margarine eater. I did not consume butter until I was already a man. And I have to tell you, butter tastes substantially better than margarine. There's no doubt about it. It's not even close. in terms of flavor. However, and I'm big into this right here. However, I do have to say, you know, margarine is really bad for you. Like, at least to my understanding of nutrition, you know, the fact that it's like partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, it's like the worst possible like food that you can put inside your body is basically like partially hydrogenated oils. However, it's got that so much convenience, dude. I almost miss being like ignorant of how bad margarine was for you. Just because sometimes you're like, oh, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to take the freaking straw. Let's work our way back and take the straw. I love butter. The spreadability is not good. You constantly, like, the overhead for butter is nuts. We have a butter dish. We keep a little butter in our fridge. Well, we keep most of the butter in the fridge. Occasionally, like, we'll leave some out. But we really don't consume butter at a rate that is conducive to keeping the butter outside of the fridge. Like, there's one thing I've noticed. Like, so I grew up in essentially a 3-person household. You know, in terms of like the setup that we had. So technically, like, I lived with my parents, obviously, and my grandparents also lived with us, but it was a duplex where, like, they had a whole separate unit on the top and we had the bottom, like the basement unit. So we did have 2 kitchens. So in our kitchen, you know, when you talk about like the rate of grocery consumption, I'm talking about for 3 people. We had margarine, but like when we got a little older and we started to have butter, because you know, the word got out that margarine's terrible for you. We were able to keep some outside the fridge. You know, we used it. I had toast every morning. Sometimes have like toast as like an after school snack or something like that. I love toast with a little bit of butter on it. It might not be like everybody's cup of tea, but it goes nicely with a cup of tea, by the way. Just grab this. And my dad had toast at least once a day. My mom would have toast occasionally. Combine that with the culinary uses of butter, and we would use it before it got moldy outside in a covered dish, you know? A lot of the things that we were able to do in a 3-person household come a lot harder to do in a 2-person household. People will say, like, just leave a little butter outside of the fridge and then, you know, cycle it, you know, every single day or something like that. When you're the only person that consumes butter in your house and they only sell butter in big bricks, you know, it becomes like more trouble than it's worth to some extent. So they do have like spreadable butter, but then the thing is, the freaking spreadable butter is because it's made with a little extra, like, I think partially hydrogenated oil, so you might as well just be buying margarine at that point. So I go, you know what, the whole thing's so complicated, I'm not gonna eat toast at all. So I end up eating, you know, Kind bars for breakfast and lunch 5 times a week. It's also freaking complicated, man. I know oh, this is so good. I know we've been on this tangent before, and it does sometimes rub people the wrong way. There's solutions to my problems, for sure. But the solutions they're easy, but they're not automatic, so allow me to complain. I'm telling you, like, as more and more people, like, I think as time goes on, more and more people are going to live in, you know, 1-person households, 2-person households. People are going to live alone longer. You know, it's not like a hunch. This is based on, like, demographic trends and stuff like that. They're going to live alone longer. They're going to, you know, maybe get married or like, common law relationship with somebody, but they're not going to have kids, or they're not going to have kids until much longer or much later in life than their parents did. We gotta re-examine how much food comes in each package. I'm telling you, loaves of bread are just too big. They're not too big if 2 people consume bread in your household. They're too big if 1 person consumes bread. I cannot, even if I eat like 2 sandwiches a day, I can't make it through a loaf of bread before like the final pieces go moldy. I know you can freeze half a loaf, but like, I know that this is, we talked about it before, it was a divisive subject. Apparently they have loaves in Europe, and some other countries as well. I know Europe's a continent. Sorry, I'm baking all this in because of the Melvin quotient, but the half loaf has not become super widely adopted up here, which is very disappointing to me personally, because I think a half loaf would be perfect. Like, if I could buy a loaf of bread that had 6 slices, I would be very pleased. Because the 12-slice loaf or the 16-slice loaf, you know, at least 25% of it is going into the compost. So you're welcome for the nutrients being returned to the topsoil. But at the same time, you know, I'd rather minimize the amount of waste to begin with. And the same thing, like, it kind of blows my mind that you can buy 6 eggs easily, but a half loaf of bread hasn't really made it up here yet. Like, they sell half egg cartons. Normally they used to come in like 12s, or they still do, but they offer like the option of a half carton. But even then, I'm like, dude, I want to take it one step further. I want to be able to buy like 2 eggs. I want a 2-egg bundle. I got nothing against eggs. I don't eat them very often, but I understand they're pretty much a superfood. The reason I don't eat them often is more like personal preference. However, normally when we buy eggs, it's because we need them in a recipe. Hold on, this is a big one. Should have picked that up first, but so be it. Normally when I buy eggs, it's because we need them in a recipe. We need, you know, 2 eggs. Now we got 4 eggs just chilling in our fridge for like, you know, weeks at a time. We got to find a way to deal with them. Like, I will say we cleaned out our freezer recently. So we had a bunch of stuff in our freezer, but without getting, you know, too much information, you know, we're keeping a milk supply on hand. So we needed space in our freezer to facilitate that, right? So we ate this like way back at the start of the pandemic. Kate bought a frozen pizza without realizing that it was vegan and gluten-free. So we finally ate that after procrastinating on it for a while. If you are, you know, gluten intolerant, vegan, I'm sure that it's good. For somebody that's a little bit more used to the cheesy and gluten-y sorts of pizzas, it was not to my liking. Which is, I'm not going to be, I would rather go to prison than eat that. No, I would rather eat that than go to prison. But it was not particularly appetizing. But I'm a grown-up, you know, we ate it and it was fine. Even, like, I've said this before, even bad food, most of the time, unless you've done something terribly wrong, it's not like it's like a 0 out of 10. It's not like it's torture. You're just like, I'd rather be eating something else right now. But we also, like, we had all this seafood. Like, we bought abalone, which is like a mollusk, and, you know, like, we had some frozen fish and stuff like that we kind of bought but never used. We made like an unbelievably decadent seafood hot pot. That was delicious. Now, for cleaning out our freezer, that was a meal that I don't even want to tell you how much the units, like the ingredients involved in the meal, must have actually cost at the grocery store, because I think it reflects poorly on us to have eaten it all in one dinner. But it was doing nothing in our refrigerator, so to just get it out there was good, and man, oh man, it was delicious. Some shrimp, some like a baby octopus. I don't know if baby octopus are legitimately infant octopi. Feel kind of weird about that. I was kind of hoping it was like a baby carrot situation where they're just, you know, smaller. But anyway, it was good. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't remember. I don't remember what I was saying. I would not be surprised, and you know, why are you watching this show if not to get my impression of how lifestyle and grocery trends are going to change over the next like 10, 20 years? I would not be surprised to see like smaller packages become the norm, or at least more widely available. Like the flip side of, and let me be the first to admit, I have a huge bias in this because I live in an area where, well, like a city where it's very expensive Like, real estate is pricey. So on top of, like, things being, like, people living in smaller family situations, which honestly there might be, like, two forces at play there. Yes, like, people in my generation are, you know, getting married later, having kids later, having fewer kids as well. But then I think there's also, like, some economic pressure that is, like, you know, getting multiple generations of people to live together, like 3 generations in the same household, that might actually mean that people are purchasing, you know, larger quantities of food, hopefully at a discounted rate as well. But, you know, I'm kind of speaking of the, you know, from the 30-year-old city dweller perspective, I guess. But that's the other thing is, like, you know, I love Costco. As a kid, I loved Costco. Kirkland products are amazing. When we, not this place, but the last place we lived in, we got a Costco membership. And then after a year, we just let it lapse. And it's a shame because, like, I really like Costco. But on the other hand, we found that we weren't really, like, getting value out of it. Just because of the fact that, you know, we had, like, no space for a chest freezer. We had, like, no pantry space. Not very much pantry space, at least. So, you know, you're spending $50-$60 a year, I think, on the Costco membership. You're saving a little bit of money on the bulk purchases, but we had nowhere to store them. So really, we ended up, like, being the worst Costco consumers of all time. Like, we would go to Costco and just buy, like, the normal stuff we would buy that's probably overpriced to begin with, and buy, like, 8 times more of it, because that was the minimum possible size, and then be like, well, I guess we're eating, you know, salmon for, like, the next 22 days straight. That's all I got, really. It's the end of my anecdote here, but I miss Costco, but we're still not in the right kind of ecosystem for it here, that's for sure. The Costco's in Vancouver, I think they do very well. I mean, there's always, like, absurd lineups, and all the toilet paper is apparently gone right now. But the one thing I love about the downtown Costco, it has the exact perfect thing for a Costco. The food court is outside of the membership required area, so you don't need a Costco membership to eat there. Now, I've only eaten there literally 1 or 2 times, because anytime we're in the neighborhood, you know, maybe it's a special occasion where, you know, it's, hey honey, happy anniversary, you want to get some poutine at the Costco food court? Maybe go to a slightly classier place. This is all pre-COVID, not hypothetically. This is genuinely pre-COVID. Nowadays, we're just chilling. Like, so legitimate. I've talked about this before too. Most of the holidays in my life, and I'm talking not just Christmas and stuff like that, but, you know, my birthday, Kate's birthday, you know, that kind of stuff. My mom's birthday, Kate's mom and dad's birthday. You know, they take place in kind of like the fall and the winter. So we actually haven't had to, like, I mean, I'll just be honest, we haven't had to sacrifice, like, that many get-togethers due to COVID. But, you know, my birthday's coming up in just a little bit here, like probably a week from the time of this recording. And I got to figure out. I'm already bad about, like, figuring out what I want to do for my birthday. But then, like, the fact that there's also COVID is basically like, I don't know, maybe it's a dream come true. Now I can just be like, here's what I want for takeout. Nando's. Happy 32nd birthday. Here's some potato wedges. What's funny is that, like, I'm embarrassed to say it, but that sounds pretty sick. That sounds like a really good time. We'll figure it out. But I feel guilty. I'm like, man, I can't just ask for Nando's for my birthday. I'm not 11 years old. Can I have some chicken fingers for my birthday? I don't know. Maybe you can. It's your birthday. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode today. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!